Today we have a story for you. It's one that has, well, haunted Japan for decades now. It's a case just filled with these chilling details, an incredible amount of evidence, really, but still, no answers. We're talking about the Miyazawa family murder case, a crime that just deeply shocked the entire nation. And despite this trail of clues the killer left behind, almost carelessly it seems, the case is still cold, unsolved. It's become this sort of saga in Japanese crime history, and today we're going to unpack the facts, the evidence, and the enduring mysteries surrounding it. So let's start with the family themselves, the victims at the center of this awful tragedy. There was Mikio Miyazawa, the father. He was 44, worked as a coordinator for an international company. People knew him as friendly, helpful, apparently loved anime. His wife, Yasuko, was 41. She was a private tutor, actually taught right there from their home. A really loving couple by all accounts. They had 2 young children. Their daughter, Nina, was 8 years old, second grader, loved ballet and piano. And their son, Ray, just 6. He was in kindergarten and sadly had a speech impediment. You know, there's this detail. They used to mark the kids' heights on the living room wall. Just a small thing, right? But it makes the horror of what happened just feel even starker.
It really does. That contrast is, I think, part of what makes this case so deeply unsettling. And the setting itself adds another layer. Their home was this large 3-story house in Setagaya, Tokyo, generally considered a very quiet, safe, friendly neighborhood. Interestingly, their house shared a wall with the home where Yasuko's mother, Haruko, lived with Yasuko's sister, Anne, and her husband, Hiroyuki. But, and this is important, there was no connecting door. You had to go outside to get from one house to the other. And the situation with the neighborhood was, unique. You see, back in the 90s, the government started buying up land there. They were planning this huge public park, Setagaya Park. So by the year 2000, only 4 houses were actually left right there, including the Miyazawas. Their place was quite isolated. And there was this skateboard park nearby, part of Setagaya Park, that was apparently really noisy. In fact, Mikio was actually planning to move the family out in March 2001, specifically because of that noise.
Wow. So they were just a few months away from moving. But obviously they never got that chance. It's a discovery. It happened on Sunday, December 31st, 2000, New Year's Eve. Yasuko's mother, Haruko, she'd been trying to call Yasuko all morning, couldn't get through. She started to worry, naturally. So around 10 a.m., she walked over, knocked on the door, no answer. She had a spare key, so she let herself in. And the first thing she saw, just imagine, was Mikio, her son-in-law, lying dead on the first floor stairs in a pool of blood. It was absolute terror, but somehow she went further into the house, up towards the second floor, and that's where she found Yasuko, her own daughter, and her granddaughter Nina, also dead, rigid, cold. Haruko, completely devastated, ran out and frantically called the police. When the police arrived, they searched the whole house, and they found the last victim. Little Ray, 6 years old. He was in his bedroom on the second floor. He'd been strangled.
It is, and understanding the house layout is pretty critical for how the police pieced together the sequence of events. So the first floor, that was the living room and Mikio's office space. Second floor had the kids' bedroom, the bathroom where the killer likely got in, and a separate toilet. Then the third floor was the main living and dining area, laundry. And the parents' bedroom was actually up in the attic. You had to use a pull-down ladder. Police believe the intruder got in through a ventilation shaft in that second floor bathroom that was removed. A tight squeeze definitely needed some flexibility. The reconstruction is, well, it's chilling. They think the killer first went to Ray's room, second floor, strangled him, probably quietly. Mikio, maybe working downstairs in his office, must have heard something. He went up to investigate. He confronted the killer, likely on the second floor, and that's when the killer attacked him with a long sashimi knife. About 34 centimeters, stabbed him over 10 times. The violence was so extreme the knife actually broke during the struggle. Mikio then collapsed, fell backwards, and died there on the first floor stairs where his mother-in-law found him. Now Nina, the daughter, she had a minor injury. Police think it happened early on, maybe while Mikio was still fighting, trying to protect her. Yasuko then took Nina up to the attic bedroom, tried to treat her wound with a first aid kit, a desperate, mother's instinct. Later, probably thinking the attacker had gone, Yasuko and Nina came back downstairs, only to be confronted again. The killer had gone to the kitchen and got another knife. The police description of Yasuko and Nina's injuries: numerous slashes, chest, neck, face. They never released photos, said they were just too graphic.
God, that's horrific. But then the story takes this incredibly bizarre turn, doesn't it? The killer doesn't just flee. They stay for hours. What did the police make of that? Stay in the house for, 10 hours after that?
Yeah, around 10 hours. It's perhaps the single most perplexing aspect of this entire case. It completely baffled investigators. From a, criminal psychology perspective, it's highly unusual, extremely rare. Usually the priority is escape. Minimize risk, avoid leaving evidence. This guy, he stays. It suggests maybe a chilling level of confidence, or maybe complete disorganization. Or maybe he was looking for something specific. We just don't know. But the evidence he was there is undeniable. And strange, he apparently slept on the sofa, he ate melon, drank 4 bottles of green tea, and ate 4 cups of ice cream. Left the empty cups and wrappers scattered around, 1 in the bathtub, strangely, 1 in the living room, 2 by Mikio's computer. And even more disturbing, perhaps, left unflushed feces in the toilet. The computer logs filled in more detail. Mikio last used his email around 10:45 p.m. the night before, December 30th. Then at 1:20 a.m. on the 31st, the killer used Mikio's computer, looked up Mikio's and Yasuko's companies online, even tried to book movie tickets using Mikio's ATM card info. Initially, police thought the killer might still have been there when Haruko arrived at 10 a.m. because the computer mouse moved. But later, in 2015, they reevaluated that. They think it was probably just Haruko bumping the desk when she came in, knocking the mouse and waking the screen. But either way, the fact remains he was in that house for many, many hours after the murders. It's deeply unsettling.
The sheer audacity. It's hard to comprehend. And staying that long means he must have left a lot of evidence behind. Like he wasn't even trying to hide. What kind of clues are we talking about? It sounds like a mountain of evidence.
An absolute mountain. It's one of the reasons the lack of a solution is so frustrating. The amount of forensic material was, frankly, unprecedented for this kind of crime. Let's break down some key things. First, the clothing left behind. A blood-stained, long-sleeved t-shirt. Raglan-style light gray body, light purple sleeves. Size L, apparently popular with skateboarders at the time. Also a gray-black classic kind of cap, a casquette hat. A black Uniqlo jacket, size L. A green plaid scarf. Black gloves, S. Win brand, size L. Police thought these were probably just for warmth, not disguise, because bizarrely, the killer's fingerprints were found elsewhere in the house. And 2 black handkerchiefs. One was folded like a face covering, the other was torn, suggesting maybe it was wrapped around the knife handle. You know, for better grip, like butchers sometimes do.
Okay, so specific clothing, fingerprints. What else?
Footprints. They matched a specific Korean brand of shoe, scented Ranger, like a basketball or tennis shoe, size 27.5 in Korean sizing. And crucially, that size wasn't sold in Japan, so it strongly suggests the shoes were imported, maybe directly from Korea. They even did a gait analysis on the footprints, how the person walked, and it suggested characteristics consistent with military training. Then there's the killer's own blood. Male, type A blood was found all over. On used bandages on a bath towel used to wipe up blood. Toxicology showed no drugs, and he was a non-smoker. The feces left in the toilet were analyzed too, contained undigested meat and green beans. This led police to speculate maybe the killer lived with his mother, or someone who cooked traditional Japanese home meals where green beans are common for kids. And even a scent. They identified the killer's perfume or cologne as Gilaroche de Gare Noir. Not exactly a common fragrance.
Incredibly specific. But then there were those other residues found on the clothes, right? The ones that pointed to all sorts of different places.
Exactly. This is where it gets even stranger, almost like an international puzzle. In the jacket pocket, they found sand. Analysis showed it came from the Miura Peninsula, which is south of Tokyo, a coastal area. Also found pollen from pomegranate or Japanese alcova trees, pointing to local plant life. But then also in the jacket pocket, soil that was definitely not from Japan. It matched soil from Seoul, South Korea. And it gets weirder. Sand found in the waste bag he left behind was different again. Desert sand. It had traces of radioactivity, and they actually linked it to Edward Air Force Base in California, in the U.S., and in that same waste bag, possible residue of skateboard wax, tying back to that potential connection. Oh, and one more odd detail, red highlighter marks inside the waste bag. Very similar marks were found in the Miyazawa's garage, which made police wonder, did the killer know the house? Had he been there before? Or maybe just scouted it very thoroughly?
So you've got Korean shoes, sand from a U.S. military base in California, a possible skateboard link. What kind of profile did police put together from all this? And were there any incidents before the murders that seemed suspicious in hindsight?
Yeah, all those disparate clues made profiling difficult, but they tried. They figured male, probably youngish, maybe 15 to 35, about 170 centimeters tall, so around 5'7", slender build, dark hair, right-handed, flexible obviously for the vent. Speculation included him living with his mother, maybe alone, Motive was a huge question mark. Nothing significant seemed stolen, but maybe financial gain was intended initially. The raglan shirt, the wax residue, the California link, because California is a big hub for pro skateboarders, definitely made them look hard at the skateboarders Mikio had argued with, which leads into those pre-crime indicators. Mikio had argued with skateboarders about noise, but also with a local biker gang, the Bususukum, known for being rough and armed, also about noise. Then Yasuko told her father, just 5 days before, about a car that kept parking outside their house repeatedly. 2 days before, someone saw a middle-aged man seemingly surveying the house, and the day before the murders, a man dressed very much like the killer was seen near a train station where the family had been shopping. Also that day, a sashimi knife, just like the murder weapon, was bought at a nearby store. This is disturbing. In the months leading up, several cats had been found killed in Setagaya Park. Some dismembered. No proven link, but it certainly paints a grim picture of the area beforehand.
It sounds like they had so much yet. Nothing led to an arrest. The case went cold for years. But then there was that DNA analysis in 2006. That seemed like a huge potential breakthrough, pointing to a very specific background. What did it show?
It really did seem huge at the time. The analysis of the killer's DNA showed his paternal lineage. His father's side was most likely Korean. The odds were calculated at about 1 in 3 for Korean versus only 1 in 13 for Japanese or 1 in 10 for Chinese, so a strong indicator. And even more distinct, his maternal lineage from mitochondrial DNA traced back to Southern Europe or the Mediterranean region. So the conclusion was the killer was likely of mixed heritage. East Asian, specifically Korean on his father's side, and European on his mother's side. This is, a very specific combination. It definitely shifted the focus. Police started looking beyond just local skateboarders. They looked into family associates, anyone matching that mixed background. There was even one specific mixed-race suspect they looked at closely. Apparently, he liked ballet and piano, like Nina, but his DNA didn't match. He was clear.
So another promising lead that ultimately went nowhere. Must have been incredibly frustrating for everyone involved. And all this time, the clock was ticking, wasn't it? Japan's statute of limitations for murder was a very real threat. How did they deal with that pressure?
That pressure was immense. And this is where the human story, the family's fight, becomes so important. Under Japan's old law, the statute of limitations for murder was just 15 years. For this case, starting in late 2000, that meant the investigation would be legally forced to close in 2015 if unsolved. But the victims' families, especially Mikio's father, Yoshiyuki, refused to let that happen. They campaigned tirelessly. Tragically, Yoshiyuki passed away in 2012 at age 84. His final wish, they said, was just to know why the killer did it. He never got that answer. But he, along with the original lead investigator, Takeshi Tsuchida, who kept working the case even after retiring in 2009, formed a group, Sora no Tai. They lobbied relentlessly for legal reform, and they succeeded. In April 2010, the law was changed. The statute of limitations for murder was abolished in Japan. It meant the Miyazawa case and others like it would remain open indefinitely. A huge victory born from tragedy. Later, in 2014, the reward for information was also increased significantly to 20 million yen. That's about what, maybe 135,000 US dollars today?
A testament to their perseverance. But even with no deadline and a large reward, the case remains open, unsolved. I remember reading that on the 15th anniversary, December 2015, the police actually held a press conference and publicly apologized for not solving it yet. The scale of the investigation is just mind-boggling too. Over 250,000 officers involved over the years, more than 12,500 tips from the public. It's a colossal effort.
Oh, and wasn't there that controversial book in 2015? The one that named a suspect?
Ah, yes, that caused quite a stir. The book was by Fumiya Ichihachi. He named a specific former South Korean soldier using a pseudonym, Lee In-an, and claimed he was hired by some powerful real estate figure. Ichihachi even claimed he'd found a fingerprint match, which was a very bold claim. However, the police quickly and publicly dismissed the book. They essentially called it fiction, told people to treat it as just a novel. After that, the author basically stopped providing more info, citing safety concerns. So that lead went cold too.
Just another dead end in a case full of them. Pretty much. And as of late 2019, the investigation, remarkably, was still active. Around 35 officers were still assigned to it full-time, including Takeshi Tsuchida, the original lead investigator, still involved even in retirement. That kind of sustained effort shows just how deeply this case affected people, affected law enforcement in Japan. But despite it all, the clothes, the shoes, the DNA, the fingerprints, the weird behavior, the sand from California, despite everything, the killer remains a ghost. Their face unknown, their motive, the real why that Mikio's father wanted to know, still a complete mystery. It's truly one of Japan's most chilling, most tragic, and most baffling unsolved crimes.
A chilling mystery indeed. It just lingers, doesn't it? a puzzle with too many pieces that somehow still don't fit. The impact of this crime, still unsolved after all this time, is just profound. If you found this story as gripping and, frankly, as disturbing as we have, please show your support for our channel, Horror Docs. We rely on you, our listeners, to keep bringing these stories to light. So please take a moment to like this deep dive, share it with anyone you think might be interested, and definitely subscribe to Horror Docs. That way you won't miss our next exploration into the shadows. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back soon with another story for you. Goodbye for now.